Just about 1 week ago, we started a project in our lovely little chicken yard, our 1/10 of an acre chicken yard here in our front yard, to develop a really simple low-tech pond that can capture the rainwater off of the roof of our home when it's in excess from our storage tank, and make it available to the chickens for drinking, but also house aquatic life and do all sorts of neat things. Well, we got it dug out, we got it lined, we have stones on top, and it costs $0. It definitely needs more work. I wanted to make this section to show the physical infrastructure of it and definitely highlight the reality that it's lacking good life. But here it is. Hey, not too bad. We documented the process of finishing this pond physically to this stage. And so at the end of this video, I'll do a little montage and explain the steps that we used. It literally, truly costs $0. The rocks are entirely from the farm field that we farm just down the road, where we do our garlic and potatoes and some other open field crops. There are lots and lots of stones in that bottomland field that need to get plucked anyway, so they're freely available to us, so we pluck them and reuse them. And then the liner that was used in here, you can see little edges there that need to be covered, are all greenhouse poly that we scavenged from high tunnels that were getting taken down in our neighborhood. The hens now have this water feature. It needs a lot more layers. I recognize right now it's kind of dingy looking. I'm going to explain why. We pulled the water originally from our neighbor's ditch, where we have a little water system over there. It's a little nutrified, and it's a little excessive fertility, but definitely something that duckweed, once it's on there, and some other aquatics will take care of. So now the north side of our home, sheet metal roof, north side with a straight gutter that runs to the west corner, northwest corner, comes down the downspout and into our IBC water tank. And when that is full, it can overflow through a salvage piece of hose, which is this right here. At some point we will bury this, but that is overflow rainwater that can dump right into this pond. And when the pond is completely full, it can overflow through a spillway that sends it into this elderberry and aronia and to points north and beyond. A fun side product of this project is that the fertility in this hole, because basically this entire chicken yard is completely filled with compost, so the hand excavation of this begat immense amounts of fertility. We were able to renovate an entire patio garden area with really high fertility compost and get it planted over. I documented that part of it as well, so I'll share that a little later on in the video. So here it is, the stone flanked pond with reclaimed poly. There's 3 layers of greenhouse poly in there. It was a little bit leaky at first, so we added a little sodium bentonite into it and stirred it all up, and that found the tiny little bit of pinprick holes that were in the poly, and now it's sealed. And so seeing that dark color lets me know I need to both aerate and activate this with life. So tomorrow I'll source some duckweed from our larger farm. I'll find some minari, perennial water celery to add to the edges. We'll do some skirret in the stones with some soil pockets around there. And I'm open to hearing from folks, what would you add into a chicken pond? Whether we actually add a solar panel powered Venturi pump and all that, I don't know. I think I'm going to start with the aquatic life and maybe a few goldfish and see if it can take care of itself. And we'll get some other layers in here as time allows. But right now this is phase 2 of this little, well, kind of 500-gallon pond in the middle of the chicken yard that cost truly $0. And now for the details of how it actually came together. We started by laying out a bunch of folding crates in orbit of the pond to be. This makes it really easy to lift the material out in an efficient way. You can see we're using a wheelbarrow here to take the folding crates of material out to some gardens that needed some renovation. You can see some areas where hugel mounds were roughly sketched, and then we could actually finalize them enough to both seed and transplant in. Really beautiful additional yield. The boys were keeping an eye on things, making sure we didn't leave without approval. Wheelbarrow comes back with empty crates, and we fill some more. And so there's a real flow state happening here of collecting that material and sending it along. You can see we've got down to a low enough area where clay started to reveal, which tells me the fruitful yield of compost is starting to wind down, and the ultimate size of the pond is starting to reveal itself. We got about 50 crates out of the deal, so it was very worthwhile. Lots and lots of plants sitting on the driveway looking for homes, so beautiful stacked function of harvesting soil into gardens that needed some renovation and also finding destination for those plants. So permaculture things for the win. Sasha and Zelda came out to take a quick look at things, and Juan in the background there working really hard to move those crates, and some leveling can begin for the final layers of where the excavation needs to be done. Here I'm just using a scrap of locust that's relatively straight and a 4-foot level, and this gives me a little bit of ground truthing here of, am I creating a space that is relatively level across the board and slightly pitched down to my right or to the north? That's what I want, and that's what seems to be happening. Then we set up a hose, a couple of hoses in fact, some dumpstered hoses in series to draw water out of a ditch next to our neighbor's driveway that we dug a few years ago with a machine, and we can pull that water over and start filling. We've got some sacrificial poly layers to start the process, and then a poly layer on top to actually hold the water. And with a pump and a battery, we can draw the water across the driveway and over and start filling this. We're going to lay stones as we go on one side in order to commit the placement of the poly there, and then allow the other side some slack so that as the water comes in, it can settle the plastic into place and kind of commit the form exactly to the bottom. That's working really nicely. The water finds exactly where it wants to go, and the plastic seems to be getting pinned down beautifully. Juan is working hard in the driveway to select for small and large stones, so we have options as we go. These are all stones we fished out of the field when we were farming, and so now we're finding a home for them that's really useful. Holds the plastic in place. With enough of them there, it'll actually hide the plastic entirely, which is the goal. We can grow some plants in amongst the stones and in the water, which is really useful. That little pump moved water beautifully. We've got about 500 gallons across the driveway and into this structure. We actually want to get it completely full while we're building so that we can see where the overflow is going to be and make sure that's designed the way we want. In our case, you can see here where we left the stones out in order to check that yes, it's overflowing in that one spot, and then we can cover it with stones. It's piled up, and it looks like a beautiful little simple feature. This whole thing took some work for sure, but was truly and literally $0. I feel great about that. All reclaimed materials. Thanks for watching.